All right. Nick Kirby, Shea, Neal watching this ninth inning here, seeing if the Reds can pull another win out of nowhere. Shea, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Again, good to be here. And at least you down a run in the ninth. This is probably the part of the order you'd want up, Nick. India, Friedel, and Steer due up for the Reds.
Yeah, I would say that's the most ideal. I'm not looking at the screen that we have the GameCast on because it's one pitch ahead of me. So
No, I'm watching it too.
I'm not looking at you, Shea, because I don't. Not because I don't like it. It's because I want to be a little bit surprised and have some genuine reaction to
enjoy some of it. Yeah, right.
Whatever happens here. All right. What's up, chat? How we feeling? Thank you, OU Sooner fan, for the entire green breakdown throughout the game. That's awesome, man. This dude was just dialed in, sharing his whole thoughts about Hunter Green. That's what I love. I love that our chat jumps on. Oh, that's a tough pitch to take. I love that our chat jumps on mid-game and starts giving their thoughts. I think that's incredible.
That is cool.
Love you guys. Yeah, we need some runs, OJ. We do. Jose Barrero Antit. Yeah, I don't, man. Sir, I swear, one night I'm like, I think he needs another couple weeks, and the other night I'm like, it's. I don't know. You got any thoughts on Barrero? I mean, I think he's at least a serviceable backup shortstop.
I think you could use him in a utility role at the least. He's got some pop to him, some versatility on defense. He's got some speed, but it's I agree with you. It seems like some nights where it looks like we're looking at, a future just really solid shortstop, and then other nights it's like, man, he just seems lost sometimes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've said it before. He could certainly, be a better Kevin Newman. I mean, that's, that's. I guess if that's the worst case scenario, I mean, that's fine.
I was going to say that's a career projection if I've ever heard one.
And how is Justin Verlander still this good? I mean, that guy just, jeez. Pitchers aren't supposed to age like that. That's not normal.
They're not.
Not normal.
Well, and the Mets have two of them. They have Scherzer too, so.
Yeah. Well, Scherzer's, I mean, it's still early, but Scherzer's kind of looking like at least there's some shakiness, some father time questions with him. Like Verlander just looks like he's 28,
Yeah. Verlander still looks like the pitcher in Houston 6 years ago. So
yeah. All right, TJ.
Maybe I didn't get a great look at it, Nick, but I was really surprised that it looked like that 0-1 pitch might have gotten him on the top of the foot. I'm surprised the Reds didn't take a longer look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see a whole lot of a reaction out of Friedel. I at first agree. I thought it had nicked him too, but didn't see a big reaction out of Friedel. So, I mean, if he's not selling it, they're not gonna look at it.
David Robertson has turned a 13-year career out of that cutter.
Oh, that's a tough pitch to swing at. Tough night for TJ.
That cutter has kept David Robertson in the bigs since 2010.
All right. Who's up, Tyler?
First pitch.
Oh. There it goes.
There goes the perfect season for me.
Shea, man. That ninth was fast. Oh, wow. I didn't even see it. He actually got a pretty good swing on it. All right. Well, that was fun. Let's reset and talk about it.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Line to the right field. Gagnon, the first run ever, with
All right, well, a tough one for the Cincinnati Reds tonight. They fall 2-1 to the New York Mets. Reds now 15-21 on the season. But I am joined by the guy who was perfect. He was
perfect.
Shea was 3-0 in games where he's helped us out with the post game. Maybe I jinxed it. Maybe it's my fault for
I don't know.
mentioning it. Maybe it's had a perfect game going, and I had to open my mouth. Shea, are you a jinxes guy?
I'm a little superstitious. I don't think you had anything to do with this. I'm a competitor, Nick. Maybe I should have retired while I was on top and undefeated, but I wanted to press my luck, see how far this undefeated streak could go. The magic ran out.
Well, no one wants to see me try to do this thing solo, so I appreciate you sticking it out with us and gutting one out. Well, let's run through it, and then we'll kind of run through some of the game. If you're in the YouTube chat, appreciate you as always. Got any questions, any comments, anything you want us to talk about, put that in there, and I'll try to get to it as we get throughout the show. But recapping this one, Hunter Green, he got off to a great start, struck out the side in the top of the first. Reds offense, they also got off to a great start. India had a leadoff single, and then Jake Fraley had a double to bring India home, put the Reds up 1-0. The Fraley double, 104 off the bat, just missed getting out of the park by a couple feet. Tyler Stevenson walked, but then he was caught stealing in what appeared to be a failed attempt to steal a run on a throw to second with Fraley on third base, but Francisco Alvarez did not fall for the bait, looked Fraley back before throwing Stevenson out at second base. Then Hunter Green, he gave a leadoff home run to Pete Alonso in the top of the second, who's having a heck of a series. That tied the game up at 1. Hunter Green really had to gut through this game. Green's final line of the night, I mean, it was certainly respectable against a good Mets lineup. I'm sure probably not what he would have liked, but, you have to take this kind of line when you get it out of a 23-year-old. 5 1/3, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 1 home run. And then after that, it was really just the Justin Verlander show. He just really shut the Reds down, retired 17 of the last 18 that he faced. This was Verlander's second start since coming back off of an injury this offseason, and he just shoved. He dominated the Reds, and Reds fall 2-1. Let's start early in the game. Shea, I don't know if you got to see this one or not. I know that these games start early for you out in Kansas. Did you get to see that first inning where Tyler Stevenson tried to steal a run? I see what the Reds were trying to do there. In a way, man, if you're able to steal a second run off Verlander, how huge would that have been? Obviously, the Reds only scored 2 runs the whole night, but man, it just felt like, that was like your one opportunity to get the Verlander, and you squandered it.
Well, and I think that was the mindset behind it. When you're facing a pitcher like Justin Verlander, any ace across the league, really, they say you have to pounce on them early, because once they get into that groove, once they kind of get a feel for their stuff that night, they're really, really good. Example being Justin Verlander did not give up a hit after that first inning. But I think, they were just trying to get that second run in. Like you said, they were trying to see if they could continue to get after Verlander while he was still kind of figuring himself out. A little bit I like the aggressive approach. I see what they were trying to do. Francisco Alvarez is a heck of a young player, and just read that perfectly. But I think, I don't really, looking back on it, I'm not upset that they tried it. I think when you're facing a pitcher of Verlander's caliber, you have to do whatever it takes to scratch a couple runs across, because you're going to need them.
Yeah, I see a comment right here. We'll get right to it. David Bell keeps challenging with the runner sliding into second when teams are turning double plays. Ever since we interfered. I mean, look, I think obviously, like, this game, nothing was going the Reds' way. It was late in the game, so I didn't have a problem with that challenge in particular. Just a night where you're gonna have nights like this where the other pitcher's shoving. I think there's definitely a lot of flaws in this offense, but I don't know if I necessarily would on the night that Justin Verlander pitches, say that's
Right.
like, it kind of just is what it is. You're gonna go for the series win tomorrow. As our guy Rico says, he's gonna be there tomorrow. Rico, bring us a series dub. We'll talk about that one. Shea, wanted to talk about Jake Fraley. Boy, he hit the ball really hard tonight. Kind of looking like maybe he's coming around a little bit. What's your thoughts on Jake Floyd? It's kind of been a weird season so far for him.
It has. I mean, the first, 2-3 weeks of the year, he looked like he was, on a potential all-star path, really looking like he was emerging as the Reds' best hitter with guys on driving in runs. And then he hit a massive cold stretch. I still think what we've seen from Jake Fraley this year, I think he's somewhere in the middle. I don't think he's a guy that's going to hit 280 with a 900 OPS like he was the first couple weeks of the year. I don't think he's going to be a 35 home run guy. But I also don't think he's, a 210 guy that's going to, you really can only play him in a fourth outfielder role. I think he's somewhere in between. I think he's going to settle in around 250, 260. I think he'll end the year with about 20, 22 home runs, somewhere around there. He'll probably drive in 75, 80 runs. I think you're getting a solid starter, but I think we've seen Jake Fraley look like a superstar, and we've seen him look like a guy that maybe shouldn't be on the field. I think he's somewhere in between those two.
Shea, what was your thoughts on this start from Hunter Greene? Because
mixed feelings. I think that like you said, you look at the line, it's not really a bad line. 5 1/3 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, only gave up 1 home run to a really good home run hitter in Pete Alonso against a tough Mets team. But it's I think the most important thing with Hunter Greene. And I think that's why we talked about last night that he really needs to work on that third pitch, whether it be a changeup or a fastball with a different type of movement. That's where it comes into play. Because when you're throwing nothing but 4-seam fastballs and sliders, Nick, the Mets pick up on it. They have 5, 6, 7 pitch at bats. And Hunter Greene, it seems like almost every start can't make it out of the 6th inning. And if he wants to be the next ace of the Cincinnati Reds, the next Johnny Cueto, the next some of these great pitchers that have pitched for the Reds in years past, even going back to, Raisel Iglesias before he got hurt, Luis Castillo, he's going to need to go 6, 7 innings. And that's the next step for him. Of course, he's only 23 years old, but that was my biggest takeaway from Hunter Greene today. He labored just to go through 5 1/3. I'd really love to see Hunter take that next step and go 6, 7 innings when he gets the ball.
Yeah, it did feel like the Mets had a pretty good game plan against Greene tonight. So, so look, sometimes we have to give the opponent credit. When the Reds do well, we like to give the Reds credit. We don't really, think too much about the opponent. But they were swinging early. The Pete Alonso, just like his approach against Greene, you could tell Greene just was really trying to figure out, like, it almost felt, and I think Barry Lark was actually doing a pretty good job on the broadcast, kind of walking you through the pitcher versus batter matchup. It just felt like Pete was in Hunter's head every pitch.
Right. And in Hunter's defense, Pete Alonso is just one of those players where almost every starter in Major League Baseball is like, just find a way to throw something that he doesn't hit 400 feet.
Yeah.
If he hits it 200 feet, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, look, it would probably feel a lot different about this game if Hunter Greene pitches this performance tonight. Reds score 4 runs and win 4-2.
Right.
It probably feels a lot different. So, always kind of put a little bit of a caveat on that. I think there's things.
I think another, just a plus, looking on the positive side of thing. Of course, the third pitch, going deeper into games, that's stuff you can work on. But I think at the end of the day, this was not the best Hunter Greene we've seen. I think that's fair to say. And I would say even the not best Hunter Greene we've seen kept the Reds right in it with a pitcher as talented as Justin Verlander, who looked like he was just on his game tonight after that first inning. So if Hunter Greene, with his B stuff, can keep the Reds in games against pitchers like Justin Verlander, I mean, he probably is the next ace of the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah. And, just looking through this game, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. I mean, I think we're kind of seeing, Henry Ramos kind of being what he is. Will Myers is really struggling now. It's been such a weird season for Myers. I hold out hope that this guy gets a couple weeks and gets into a groove, can get going. I know he's been a guy that's played his best baseball of his career in the summer months. Just has had a lot of slow starts throughout his career. Ramos kind of feels like the magic's just run out. Probably. I know everyone's wanting McLean and CES up, but maybe even if you're not going to go that route, maybe the Reds should just say, hey, let's swap him with TJ Hopkins, the guy who's having a lot of success at AAA. Give him a shot. This is just kind of that season where you're you're throwing things on the wall in some instances and seeing what sticks for those spots. Nick Senzel's made it to where a guy, whoever that guy is, doesn't have to play regularly though. So
and I read something, since you brought up Nick Senzel, I read something earlier today. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm curious your thoughts. Nick Senzel continues to play the way he's played over the last couple of weeks. Do you keep him as a long-term piece, or do you see if you can try and get something for him while his value is at its highest because he hasn't been on the field the last 3-4 years?
It's tough to say, Shea, because it just depends. What is another team giving up for Nick Senzel?
Exactly, and that's what I'm like. What would Nick Senzel command? But it's an interesting idea. I think Nick Senzel has the talent where I'd like him to be on the roster. But I understand, the thought process. He's really only had about a 6-month stretch of being healthy in his major league career. And if he does stay healthy and he does play well, that might be a risk you take.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against cashing in on Senzel if someone's offering you a substantial piece back. But I just think with Nick Senzel's history, I think he's probably going to be more valuable to the Reds than anyone else could be willing to pony up and give something for a player that's just been so inconsistent and not been able to stay healthy throughout his career. I think you're probably riding out Nick Senzel, but I wouldn't rule anything out because you never know what a desperate team at the trade deadline would offer for anything. Right. I didn't think the Reds would get nearly as much as they did for Luis Castillo last year, but Seattle Mariners, they were in a desperate spot. They wanted an elite starting pitcher. They got an elite starting pitcher, and they paid a desperate price for it. And it's probably a trade that might end up working out for both sides, but it's a trade you don't see very often. That much top end prospect talent coming back. Mm-hmm. Do you have any hope on Will Myers? I know everyone wants to write him off. How many at bats is he even at? So far this year, is he even at like 80 at bats yet?
Let me see. I can pull it
96.
Yeah. It's just, we talked about it. I think back in the spring, when I think the first time I was on here, we said, like, what are your expectations for Will Myers? We both said like 750, 760 OPS. His career OPS is just a hair below 770. Nick, he's at a 592 OPS. It's just right now, the thing I see is a lot of swings and misses, a lot of just kind of, sloppy at bats. I think the talent's still there. The power's still there. I just think that, he just needs to see the ball better right now. It's hard. You can't snap out of a slump when you're not putting the ball in play. You put the ball in play, eventually it finds a hole. Eventually you start to kind of work your way out of it. But right now, Will Myers just looking at a lot of fastballs, swinging, missing at a lot of sliders and off speed. It just looks like he's been uncomfortable at the plate all year long, with the exception of that one game where he went yard twice.
All right, I'll give you something positive of Will Myers. Will Myers on this date last year had a 485 OPS for the Padres. Ended the season at 713. Again, 713 for the Padres probably equals close to what we were talking about with the Reds, just because of the park effects and how much easier it is to hit. So he was a slow starter last year too. So that's why I'm not willing to, just write this guy off. I think he's had a really consistency, and I think he can be a contributor, and hopefully a guy that can get really hot, and someone give us another nice lottery ticket prospect to add to that.
I would be all on board with Will Myers having a Yasiel Puig-esque June.
Yeah,
he just hits 360 with 8-9 home runs. Just flip the switch.
Yeah, that's a great comp, because I think everyone loved Puig, but I think people forgot
Puig was awful through the first 2 months as a Red.
Ferocious.
Yeah,
couldn't hit anything. And
I think after May, he was hitting like 160 at some point in the month of May. And then when they traded him, he had gotten that average all the way up to 245. He went off in June.
Yeah. Oh, old Will Myers. Well, yeah, man. Hey, another positive night for the Reds bullpen. No runs allowed, so that was good. I don't know, Shea. Before we get to Reds minor league, you got anything else in this game? I really, there's just I'm sorry. There's just not really a whole lot to talk about. Verlander shoved. Yeah, Hunter Green was okay. I don't have a hot take on Hunter Green.
There's not a ton of ways to spin it. Justin Verlander was awesome. 2 hits is not going to win you many games. Hunter Green can work on stuff, but I didn't think he was bad by any means. Bullpen looked good. You go back out there tomorrow, you can still win the series. That's why winning yesterday was so important.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if ever in doubt, we could talk about trading Jonathan India. That's our go-to whenever. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. All right, well, let's get into some Reds minor league action. There was some good stuff today, Shea. Let me pull it up here. There we go. There's our scoreboard. If you're watching on YouTube, well, Louisville 5-1 winners over Columbus Bats. They're now 15-19 on the season. They've won 3 in a row, and they are 6-2 in the month of May. Matt McLain, I know everyone can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see him. 11th home run of the season, and this was maybe his most impressive one to date. Came off of Gavin Williams. That is the Guardians' number 2 prospect, and he is the number 36 ranked prospect in all of baseball. So, and he looked great outside of that home run that he allowed to McLain. So, that was really good to see. Let's stop on McLain. We'll keep going here. Shea, what's your thoughts on Matt McLain? You know, what do you think his I don't know, what do you think his season could look like when he does come up? Because I do think he's going to be up here within the next month. I don't think it's going to be that much longer.
I think we could honestly see him by the end of May, to be honest. I think, first of all, you know, I'm going to sound like a biased Reds fan saying this. It is absolutely atrocious that Matt McLain is not a top 100 prospect.
Yeah.
What more do you need to say? What more do you need to see? That's my opinion. But he has a good approach. I think it's inevitable that he's going to have that kind of rookie slump a little bit. But I think, you know, realistically, let's assume he's up for June, July, August, September. I would say somewhere between 240 and 260, probably 10, 12 home runs, 40 runs driven in. I think that's a fair kind of estimate. I think he'll play some solid defense. I think he's going to hold his own enough where he's not going to be a liability by any means, but he's a rookie playing in Major League Baseball for the first time. So I'd say 240, 250, maybe 10, 12 home runs. I think that sounds about right for a guy that's going to play about half a season.
Yeah. I think the Reds with McLain, I think they're waiting for an injury to happen to one of, you know, the guys who play infield regularly. Or they're looking for Jose Barrero to completely exhaust himself, which I know to a lot of people, they already feel like he has exhausted himself. I think in their minds, maybe he hasn't yet. Or if it just gets to, I don't know, June 1st or June 15th, and he's still raking, then they're just going to have to call up and figure out a way. I just think they're not going to rush into making a move right now. I know people hate that, but I think that's their thinking behind this.
Right.
All right. Also in this game, I love this. Will Benson, he walked 3 times. Shea, Will has a .538 on base percentage in May with an OPS over 1,100. It's so good to see Will Benson going down to AAA. He's not trying to do too much. He's not trying to, with 1 or 2 swings, climb his way back up to the majors. He's taking a ton of walks, which is so crucial to his game because he's such a great stolen base threat. It's just so great to see Will Benson. I don't think they should be in a rush to bring him back up. I think you want him to be as fully ready to get back up here. But it is great to see him continue to do well. Shea, what's your overall thoughts on Benson?
I really like his tools, his skill set. I like the idea of a 6'5" left-handed bat that hits for a ton of power, can play a strong defense, has some speed to him as well. I think he had 5 or 6 stolen bases this spring. I love his skill set. Obviously, I think most people can agree that at the start of the year, he was just trying too hard to have that one big play, that one big moment that's like, okay, I'm officially a Cincinnati Red. I think he was trying too hard for that moment. I think that moment will come. But I think, you know, like you said, Ramos really slowing down. I like Ramos's ability as a switch hitter, but I think, you know, out of all the guys they have in AAA right now, unless you move McLain to the outfield, which I don't think they're going to do, your best quote unquote, you know, MLB ready talent in the outfield is probably Will Benson and TJ Hopkins. So I'd love to see Benson get another shot because I think this team's going to hover around 5-10 games under 500 for most of the year. So why not see what you have? I think Benson really could prove himself to be, at the very least, a great fourth or fifth outfielder on a solid team. But who knows? Maybe he gets hot. Maybe he all of a sudden shows you something and you think he's a future outfielder for the Reds. It'd be a good problem to have.
Yeah, for sure. No question about that. Love to see Benson come back up at some point and just be a big contributor. Ellie De La Cruz, he was 0 for 3, but he smoked another ball. He hit a ball at 113.8 off the bat. That was the hardest hit ball in the minor leagues today. No shocker. He just continues to demolish baseballs. There's been some chatter on this I've seen, and I could not be more in support of it about extending Ellie De La Cruz right now. I think that of every single player in the entire Reds organization, they should be doing everything they can to sign Ellie De La Cruz to a contract extension, just because I think that's where your most value is going to come at. What's your thoughts on that? A potential Ellie De La Cruz contract extension, maybe that correlated with his call up, like it all got done at once, kind of like almost like Julio Rodriguez last year.
I'm all for it. I think, with the talent this guy has in almost every scenario I can imagine, I think this guy's value only goes up. So I think, you get him now for a price that in 3-4 years looks like an absolute steal, because I think he has that skill set. He's already hitting the ball for a ton of power. He's got speed. He's shown that he can play shortstop defensively, which is something we were all worried about. He's 21 years old. He's going to swing and miss less, I think, as he, develops. He might never be a huge walk guy, but you don't really need to be a huge walk guy when you hit 290 with a 900 OPS. So I'm all for it. I think locking up Ellie long-term is a great idea. Nick, I'm sure you saw this at some point today, but MLB Network put out a StatCast chart about Ellie, and he has hit the hardest ball out of any player, minor league or major league this year, beating Matt Olson by 0.2 miles per hour, 118.8. He's clocked as the third fastest sprint speed behind Corbin Carroll and Bobby Witt Jr., two guys who, as an affiliate of the Royals, I can tell you Bobby Witt Jr. can absolutely fly. So he's rated as the third fastest sprint speed guy out of anyone in the majors or minors, and the hardest thrown ball from the infield, 99.2 miles per hour. That's 3.5 miles per hour faster than anyone else in the majors, second place being Gunnar Henderson. So this guy is an absolute, the term unicorn's used too much now. This guy's the Loch Ness Monster when it comes to talent.
He's a freak. Oh, man, I cannot wait. I'm going to be patient. I said I was going to be patient at the end of last year. I said I was going to be patient during the offseason. I said I was going to be patient when it starts, but
it's coming. The day is coming.
Man, the day Ellie De La Cruz is coming is going to be like the birth of a child. Let's go. All right. Nice. Christian Encarnacion Strand, he was also 1 for 4 in this game for the Bats. We'll get to Double-A here in a second, but Dayton, they went final. They played earlier today as well. Love a little minor league action in the afternoons. That's always fun. Dayton, they beat Peoria 5-1. Dragons now 13-16 on the season. The storyline from this game, Chase Petty, he made his season debut for the Dragons, and Chase Petty picked up right where he left off last year. 4 innings pitched, just 1 hit, 1 in a run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. This is a guy that, obviously he's got his season started a little bit late, but I think he's got as much upside as anyone. I think everyone right now is enamored with Andrew Abbott, and for very, very good reason. But coming in this year, I had Chase Petty as a guy that I thought had a higher ceiling than Abbott. You got any thoughts on Petty, who made his debut today?
I loved the addition of Chase Petty in that deal. I think he's got a ton of talent. Obviously, they traded for him when he was 19 years old, so it's going to take time. But I think he has great stuff. I think he's got a fastball that's not only like 97, but it also jumps off out of his arm. So it really comes in like it's 100, 101, which is what he tops out at. He's got some room to polish his breaking pitches. He's got a good slider. He's working on a changeup, a curveball. Pretty standard mix, but he's got plus pitches, and he's going to make his way up the system. I could see him being, late next year, maybe even being an option if they need an extra arm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love Chase Petty. I hope he has a big year. I'd like to see him, getting close to big league ready by some, into next year. Maybe by the end of next year, he's a contributor. As we're hoping next year Reds can be um, a legit contender. All right, well, to some not so good. Chattanooga, they're down 5-0 right now to Mississippi. Joe Boyle, a guy that with a lot of promise, just didn't have it again tonight. 2 2/3 innings. Walked 7 batters. Man, when this guy can throw strikes, he's as good as anyone in baseball. But the problem is there's a lot of times where he just can't throw strikes at all and has no idea where the ball's going.
Yeah.
Positive in this game, Novi Marte, who I know yesterday, Shea, you talked about how excited you are about what he's done of late. Led the game off with a double. So that was certainly a positive development. And the Daytona Tortugas, are they going to get a win tonight? We'll have to see. They're up 4-1 right now over St. Lucie. Sal Stewart walked in this game. Cam Collier is 1 for 4. And Carlos Jorge is 1 for 3. That's pretty much all that's going on in the Reds minor leagues here on this Wednesday night. Shea, you got any other final thoughts? I don't see any other questions in the chat other than things that I've exhausted. Any other final thoughts before we get into the starting pitching matchup tomorrow?
Yeah, no, just what you said about Joe Boyle. It's just it's frustrating because I watched him pitch a little bit in Dayton. I guess that would have been maybe 2 seasons ago, 2021. But he like you said, when he's on, he is absolutely gross. There was a 7-8 start stretch in Dayton where he was the best pitcher in the Midwest League, and it wasn't even that close. But it's just he's never really gotten a grip on that command, and it's something that really worries you because he's been in the system now for I believe 3.5 years, and still having those issues with command. Maybe it's time to start kind of moving him towards that bullpen kind of outlook. But his stuff is as good as anybody in the system right now.
Yeah, sadly, I think he might be destined for the bullpen, and he could be absolutely elite at that. I'd like to see them keep him as a starter as long as they possibly can. It's a little bit harder to go back on that afterwards. Steve asks about Ricky Karcher, another guy he's very similar to Joe Boyle. That I do really like. He's just been really bad. 15.5 ERA. He has walked a ton of batters. What is it? 25 batters. He's walked 25 batters in 11 innings. I don't even know how that's possible. You must have some elite stuff if you're still getting run out in AAA.
Yeah, that's Rick Vaughn in his major league debut kind of whip there.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Karcher. I liked what I've seen out of him.
Is 3.64 the highest whip you've seen out of a reliever?
Well,
it's up there.
His whip's actually gone down. I'm looking at his game logs right now. He's actually had a decent. I mean, I don't want to say decent month, but like his ERA is only 7 in May. He's had a couple. He had a couple. So he had his first outing in May, he walked 4 batters. And his second outing, he threw a perfect inning with 2 strikeouts, no base runs allowed. Third outing, pitched a scoreless inning, did allow 1 walk, but that was it. And then his fourth outing, his most recent outing, he walked 3 batters. So there have been I guess some nights where he's come out and pitched decent, but for the most part, just not gonna cut it. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't see really any other questions in the chat. Let's get to tomorrow's game. 12:35. So we've got a day game tomorrow. We'll do a live post game show after this game. Maybe not immediately after the game. Might be a little bit later. Got to get my kids off the bus. They can come anywhere from 3:05 to 3:30. So we'll have to see. I get them off the bus, get them on the iPad, and we'll talk about the game. But Ben Lively going for the Reds. He's pitched really well in AAA. Mentioned yesterday. Well, first let me back up. We assume Ben Lively is pitching tomorrow. It wasn't confirmed. They may do like Ben Lively may only go like a couple innings. Then they may also get Herget in there. They might do kind of like a staggered thing. I don't know. It probably just depends a lot on how the game goes. But Lively, hey, he's pitched well. I think he's deserving of a shot. We'll see what he can do. And then a really interesting pitcher for the Mets. I'm going to butcher his name. Shea, you told me a little bit about him before we went on air. You tell me about this guy for the Mets.
Yeah, Kodai Senga. He's a 30-year-old in his first year in the U.S. He's from Gamagori, Japan. From what I've heard, I don't know. I mean, this could end up being false, but when Shohei Ohtani was in Japan, this guy was considered the second best pitcher in Japan behind Shohei Ohtani. So this guy has he throws about 95. He's coming off of back-to-back strong starts. He's only given up 2 runs in 11 innings in his last 2 starts with 11 strikeouts. He's got a nasty pitch that they call the ghost. It's a fork ball. That's where he gets most of his strikeouts, on the ghost pitch. But something to keep an eye on with Senga, he does walk guys, Nick. He's walked 4 in each of his last 3 starts. He's walked 22 in 36 innings this year. So if you have a good grasp of the strike zone, Kodai Senga will put guys on.
Yeah, and also looking at who he's faced this year, he has not faced a lot of great teams. Rockies, Nats, Giants, A's, and 2 starts against the Marlins. So it's not like he's been up there going against a bunch of juggernaut offenses. Yeah, I mean, I think the Reds have done pretty well in games where they need to be patient this year.
Yeah.
It's just been kind of like the guys with just the dominant stuff, where like a guy like Justin Verlander, how you beat Justin Verlander is you hit the ball out of the ballpark, and the Reds can't hit the ball out of the ballpark. Like Justin Verlander, his last start, he gave up two home runs. Like that was the 2 runs he allowed. And the Reds just don't really have that right now, but it's hopefully coming, and we'll get to that soon. Well, Shea, appreciate you. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Appreciate everyone that is tuning in. Hey, Reds are going for a series win against the Mets tomorrow. If they can pull that off, this will be a great week for the Reds. Hopefully they can get it done. I'm excited to see tomorrow's game. Going to see a very interesting, weird pitching matchup. But appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere. Chatterbox Reds on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Subscribe, turn on notifications there, and then Chatterbox Reds every single morning in your podcast feed. After a Reds game, we never fail. So thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday night. Go Reds.